Good morning. Yes, guys, I'm Si. Welcome to a slightly weirdly timed preview show this morning. Basically, I decided I was just, rather than pre-record it and then have to edit it and all that sort of stuff, I would just chuck it up live early, and then people can watch it through the day as they wish. But there we go. So the time is now. Cardiff City must build on that Watford performance, not just the fact that they won the football match, but also the way in which they played was vital. So there's lots to discuss, really, because I think, look, it would be fair to say that the 11 players who started, if they're all fit, none of them deserve to be dropped. So then why would I now do a show saying that I think that he should change the team against Coventry? Well, there's specific reasons, which we'll get into. If you're not familiar with the preview shows, we look at the opponents first, and then we kind of work through their slightly shorter videos and stuff like that. We look at the key men and all that sort of stuff, all good fun. It's a bit early, so bear with me. A big welcome to all the new members on Patreon, on Cardiff City World. Just off the top of my head, you've got like Evan, Dan, Graham, Martin, like loads of new members over the last couple of weeks. Really, really appreciate you. Those were just the ones over the last few days. The members are what keeps everything ticking and everything going, keeps the lights on. So if you can, join up. We're going to be adding some additional content as well as the rewards you already get. Like you get a members exclusive show on a Monday. You also get a 24 hours early access to tickets to live events, which is obviously going to be big this year. But you also now will be getting some retro watch-alongs with guests at some points. And also we're going to be doing a rumour mill video once a week where we discuss things which maybe more rumours and some things that I hear rather than nailed on. So kind of is what it is. There's certain things which you can't just put out there for the masses without knowing for sure. But we can talk about rumours that are out there. So we're going to add that to the members section as well, because we want to give the members as much content as well for the pennies. But back to the preview. Coventry City, they set up under Lampard in a 4-2-3-1. But they have been lacking a bit in terms of their defensive side of things. Attacking side of things. It's early. They are struggling. They've got some players out. They're not scoring a great deal of goals. Frank Lampard focused in a recent interview on that fact that they need to be more clinical in the final third. But they got some big players out, which is good for Cardiff. Coming off a massive win against Watford. Watford hadn't lost for a long old time. So it's up to Cardiff to build on that. It's up to Omar Rhys and the coaching staff to build on that and to maintain and get a bit of momentum now. Because if you can win again Newsday, you get something at Borough, suddenly you come out of this festive period a lot more positive than it felt after that Oxford game. After that Oxford game, you felt like, Jesus, we're not even going to get 1 point through this festive period. So I think it's massive. Obviously, we've got injuries ourselves, long-term injuries, etc. Chris Willock went off, looked like he had a shoulder problem. Hopefully, that's not too serious. So he'll be available for the squad selection. Same with O'Dowd. O'Dowd has been massive. He's been a real leader for the team this year. Really stepped up. And is one of the few, actually, which comes out with pretty much universal credit for the whole season. He's been excellent. So hopefully he's fit and Willock is fit for selection. Now, whether they make the 11 is another thing, but we'll see, won't we? In terms of Coventry, well, they'll obviously Cardiff are aiming for back-to-back wins. Coventry are just looking to try and get a bit of momentum under Frank Lampard. They've got some big players out, and it'll come down to whether they can cope with those players out. They fired a blank against Millwall on Sunday. He might opt to freshen up the attack. You obviously got Edison's. I think Thomas Asante might be pushing for starts. Haji Wright is currently out. Doesn't look like he's going to be fit. So that's a big one for Cardiff. There's a couple of players in that Coventry side who I quite like. I like the centre-back, Lati Boudier, and I also like Torp in that number 10 position. And their captain, Sheath, is pretty reliable. But they'll set up in like a 4-2-3-1. I do think they'll make a change up top. I think Ellis Sims will probably start. So it'll be Dovin in goal, Van Edrick at right back, Thomas, Lati Boutier, Bidwell, Eccles and Sheaf in the double pivot, Sakamoto, Torp, and Rudini. With then I think it'll be Ellis Sims. They may go with Thomas Asante in the 10 as well. So it'll be interesting how they go. They will try and play out from the back. They will try and get down the wide areas. So Cardiff will need to be aware of that. I think we've looked a lot stronger in the right back areas with Rinamoto on that side, which is going to completely contradict what I'm going to say in a minute. But you'd have to excuse that. My son's asleep on the sofa and his phone's ringing. Bear with me a second, then I'll tell him to answer it. The joys. Yeah, I think, and they'll try and utilize Rudini and Sakamoto down those wide areas, and they will try and get into us in that transition. They will try and in the transition of tackles. So Sheaf and Eccles, if they win the ball, they will try and get down the channels quickly to try and expose Cardiff City. I don't expect that Cardiff will switch to a 3 at the back to the 3 at the back. I don't think we've seen the last of that system. And I like the fact that Omar Rhys has showed a bit of versatility, even though I did point to a couple of potential issues with players knowing their roles. Obviously, with the Watford goal, in the system they played against Watford, Kean Ashford is responsible for that guy at the back post, although I don't think it should have got there. And I don't particularly blame Kean Ashford, but he probably should pick up that man. Whereas in the system that we've played previous to that for a few games, the 3-4-2-1, he wouldn't be responsible for that man. So it's those little tweaks sometimes, particularly for young players, can be difficult. In terms of Coventry's man to watch, I think you've got to go, like there's a couple, Rudini, Ellis Sims is obviously dangerous, but like for me, it's the captain, Ben Sheaf I think he's a real player, and he will try and dictate and set the tone for them early. Regarding Cardiff, for me, the most important thing is that they play with the same intensity and aggression that they used at Watford from the first minute, pressing high. And yes, we are good in possession, but let's get a ball forward and then play the nice football in the final third instead of just playing it at the back. I liked that we moved the ball forward quicker. I liked that the way that we set up with Rinamoto kind of tucking in and not really being too fussed about pushing forward, which allowed O'Dowd to fly forward and get involved. I think that's a real good way of playing. And instead of having kind of both your fullbacks inverting or one dropping in and all these different things that you see, it's that kind of the way that Villa play to a certain extent, where the one fullback sits and the other fullback goes. That can work quite well, particularly if you've got an out-and-out 6 like Callum Chambers played, where he's just going to sit and break up play. So, as I said, for me, I think any of those players who started for Cardiff would be really, really unlucky to lose their place in the starting lineup on New Year's Day. But we've played a lot of games recently, 1, and 2. Coventry is a winnable game. Cardiff, one of the things that we've really lacked at home and really not taken advantage of at home is we haven't got at teams early and set the tone early and got the crowd up and get behind the team. We keep control of the ball. We sit back a little bit. That quietens the crowd down in itself, but it also lets the other team settle and also lets the other team gradually get into their game, and then by half time, they're comfortable and they're knocking it about and they're playing their natural game. You've got to disrupt teams. And I think that we have a team, we can field a team which is perfectly capable of doing that against Coventry. I would like to see us be aggressive. I would like to see us get the crowd up by an hour before kickoff. We all in the stadium and we see the team and we're like, oh, wow, that's aggressive. So for me, we've got to press the same way we pressed against Watford, high, together, in numbers, and force mistakes. Watford made mistakes time and time again. And for me, if we played like we played against Watford, I think we will win this football match. Now, then you ask, well, why would you change the team? Well, I would change the team because it's a home game. Coventry aren't the same team as Watford. Watford hadn't lost at home for months. Were in good form. They're at the top of the league, or at the top end of the league. So you have to set up accordingly. So what changes would I make? I don't know if O'Dowda's fit. If O'Dowda's fit, then he stays. Darlin, Gutas, I'm keeping. Rinamoto, I would put Kepaki out at right back. Give us that pace and aggression at right back. And then in the midfield, I would drop Robertson into the 8 as an out-and-out box-to-box midfielder. Let him get forward and join the attacks. And the way you do that is by putting an out-and-out 6 next to him who just sits and breaks up play and moves the ball on well and quickly. So you have many choices. You could play Siopis there, who's looked loads better recently, and I thought he was excellent against Watford. He can do that job. Gives you energy as well. Chambers looked so much more comfortable in midfield. Did a really good job. You could play him alongside Robertson. You could also, and I think Rinamoto could play there and do a great job. I'd actually give Rinamoto a break. He's played a lot of minutes this year, having not played a lot last year. Nothing to do with performance, purely that I think I would go with Siopis or Chambers as the 6. And by the way, I don't expect the manager to do this. This is just what I would do. And I would go with Robertson and flip a coin for Chambers or Siopis. I'm not sure if Willock's going to be fit. I think he's not. So, but even so, I'm going Tanner on the left wing, Ashford on the right wing, Callum Robinson up front, and drop Ruben back in the 10. Because the one thing I was thinking as I was watching that game, and I was watching Willock and I was watching Robertson, I felt a bit sorry for Ruben because I could see on social media people were saying, oh, see, Ruben, has not been as good as these two. But do you know why? Because they had people running in behind. They had people running in off the ball, and we pressed high, which created space for the number 10 and for Willock to drift into. So I just think that could be a key. And also I think having Kepaki, Ashford, Robertson, Colwell all on that sort of right-hand side of the pitch gives us a lot of energy and a lot of ability. They've all, apart from Robertson, they've all come up together. They've got a great understanding. They'll work hard for each other, etc., etc. Bluebird 101, I 100% sure, 100% agree. Rinamoto doesn't deserve to be dropped. He's been, after O'Dowda, he's probably been my player of the season. I just think for this game, I would rest him because I think he's going to be vital against Borough. Borough have got 2 really, really good wingers. And I think we'll have to change again against Borough. And we'll have to go, I think we'll have to play Bagan at left back and Rinamoto at right back in that Borough game. And I just think it's just giving him a break. And just for this game, I think that can be a really aggressive lineup to try and get at Coventry early and start fast. You've got to pick the side for each game. And I would like to see us being more aggressive at home. One of my biggest frustrations over the last couple of years has been how easy we are to play at home and how much we let other teams just settle into play and just, come on, come play your football. We're not going to put a tackle in you for an hour. What I expect the manager to do, I actually think he will either keep the same 11 or he will make one change, and that'll be Callum Robinson dropping out for Matty. Now, don't get me wrong, I think that's mental, but I think with Callum, you've got to, and like he has got a bit of a fitness thing, and I wonder whether they'll try and manage him. So I could see them bringing in Matty. I think it's a mistake if they do that. And don't get me wrong, if we start with the same 11, you won't hear any complaints from me. I'm just saying that I would like us to be really aggressive at home. I've wanted us to do it for a while. I think the only way you can make Cardiff City Stadium a fortress is by winning football matches and gaining momentum. And you do that by not letting teams settle and putting a few tackles around. And I thought Callum Chambers did that really well against Watford, put himself about some really, really clever tackles at the right times, took a yellow card at the right time, and broke up play, moved the ball on nice, just knitted it all together, pretty simple. But I also thought Siopis was excellent. So I wouldn't be disappointed if it was either one of those two, but I would drop Robertson back to bring in Ruben for this game. And I would kind of alternate with Ruben at the moment, depending on who the opposition is, whether he starts to come off the bench. And against Borough, I think, unless he has like a absolute worldy performance against Coventry, I'd probably drop Ruben back to the bench against Borough and switch it up again, and probably go with Siopis and Chambers in the middle, Rinomoto at right back, Callum Robinson or Willock or someone on the left. Like you just got to switch it up a bit. And we've played like a lot of games close together, not a lot of training. I don't expect us to change the system from this now back to the sort of 4-2-3, where I don't think we'll go back to the 3. I wouldn't be against it. I still think that's a really good, flexible system. And ultimately, out of possession, it'll be 4-4-2. And you'll have Robinson and the 10, whether it's Robertson or Colwell. And then in possession, it becomes like a 3-1, 3-2 or whatever. Like it's got to be. It's an interesting one, isn't it? Because people say dropped. I'm not saying drop Rinomoto. I'm just saying that for this game, I would maybe rest him. I also wouldn't be against playing him as, I like him as a 6. So I'd be quite happy to see him as the 6 alongside Robertson. I just want to see us be a bit aggressive. I don't think he'll do it. I don't think Kepakia will get a start. I think it'll be my predicted 11 for Cardiff is Alnwick, Rinomoto, Gutas, Darland, O'Dowda, Chambers, Siopis, Ashford, Robertson, Willock, and maybe I think he might put Matty in there, which I think will be a huge mistake. Callum Robinson is a very streaky striker, so he tends to get a few goals in a row and then he'll kind of go quiet and then he'll do it again. I just think you've got to play Callum Robinson at the moment. He makes such a difference. And the difference that he did against Watford to what he has done at points this season is he played on the last man. And he's so quick to press and he's so quick to go down the channels. It creates space for others. Whereas when he drops back and tries to link up play, that's where it can get a bit congested. So Robinson, for me, number 9, play him on the last man. And then, Keane Ashford's got to play. I thought his defensive work, his attacking work, I thought he was, he was outstanding. I mentioned that I felt he kind of switched off a little bit for the Watford goal, but he more than made up for that with his performance, won the ball back numerous times. But also, it was just his composure for the second goal, and I'm sure Keane would have felt that he should have done better with the chance he had in the first half. I'm sure he would have realised that it was his man who scored the goal, but yet he didn't let that affect him. And that's what really impressed me. And that's what I like about these young players is they almost have this like goldfish mentality whereby if they do make a mistake, they just keep going and they keep going. And especially for our sort of 21s at the moment, they've had such a good season. They haven't got that sort of hangover from the first team where it's been a bit bad and a bit depressing. But yeah, I thought everyone had a good game against Watford. The subs, the first 11. So it'd be harsh on any of them to miss out. But you got to. I just don't think, and I think that was one of the mistakes that Rhys made early on, is he stuck with the same 11, and it got to a point. I think it was the West Brom game where he played the same 11 for the three. Like that was the third game in a week, and they just looked out on their feet after about 20 minutes. You've got to rotate it. You've got to. I just wanted to have a look at something actually very quickly off the cuff. Cian Ashford. Let's have a look at his stats for the game the other day. I wanted to see a key pass long ball. I wanted to see how many times he won the ball back. Total tackles 4. Clearances 1. Ground duels. Cian Ashford won 7 out of 10 ground duels. Can you imagine for a right back? That is just that's incredible work rate. Incredible work rate. I thought Cian Ashford was absolutely outstanding. But they were all excellent, and I thought Cian, the combination of Cian, Siopis, and Rinamoto on that right hand side was real good from a defensive point of view. Obviously, CO and Rinamoto don't give you a great deal going forward. Although Siopis, 3 out of 3 long balls all found their mark on Saturday. Like, he was very, very good. Won 5 out of 4 ground duels. So Siopis, who's a defensive-minded, aggressive, tackling midfielder, had 5 ground duels, of which he won 4, which is fine. Whereas Cian Ashford, the right winger, had 10 ground duels and won 7. So it shows the work rate that Cian Ashford put in, and you only got to look at his heat map for that. Just having a look at some of the other ground duels. Callum Chambers, 5 out of 7 ground duels. So for what I'm seeing, I'm just flicking through a couple of them. Cian Ashford won the most and had the most ground duels out of any player. Just having a look at the defensive players now. Incredible. Gutas only had the 1. He had 4 aerial duels, 1 ground duel. Darland had 4 and 6 aerial. What about Rinamoto? He must have had a few, surely. Rinamoto only 1 5 out of 7 ground duels. So literally, Cian Ashford had the most ground duels out of the whole team and won the most ground duels out of the whole team. Callum O'Dowd, 3 out of 6. That's incredible. That's just nailed on even more. Like, the stats have backed up the what's the word? The stats have backed up the eye test. Chris Willock, excellent. 91% accurate passes. He won 4 out of 6 ground duels. So that just shows you every single player was winning their duels, their 50-50s, their tackles. Alex Robertson, 3 out of 7. Yeah, every single player from Callum Robinson all the way back to the defence, they all won their ground duels. 3 out of 4 ground duels Callum Robertson won. So what that tells you is, anytime the ball dropped, anytime there was a tackle to be won, every single player battled for everything, for every throw-in, every deflection, every loose ball. Every single player battled and did their job. And I'm interested what you guys think very quickly, because I'm going to round up now. In terms of, like, would you keep the same 11? I know a few of you saying it would be harsh to drop Rinamoto. I agree. And I'm not saying he should be dropped in any way performance-wise. I'm just saying give him a rest. He's played a lot of football. And allows you at home to go with the energy and the pace of Kip Pacquiao. Now, yes, that's a very inexperienced right-hand side. So maybe if you do that, you put Siopis or you put Chambers on that side just to give him a bit of experience. I don't know. It's obviously Darland and Gutas did well together. I think Jesper Darland's got to keep playing. And my worry is that if he does want to move Chambers out of the midfield and he wants to drop Robertson back, but he wants to keep Siopis because Siopis was good. My worry is that he drops Darland again and puts Chambers back in defence, and I think that's a mistake because I think Darland will only get better with the more games he plays. He's still finding his feet in this league, still finding his match fitness and stuff, but I thought he was real good. In terms of my one to watch, I'm going to go with Callum Robinson. It's got to be Callum Robinson. As I mentioned, he's a very streaky striker. That first goal on Saturday, to finish like that in the first minute with your wrong foot is truly sensational. And yes, of course, in the first minute that sets the tone. But I thought his work rate set the tone for the team from that first second, pressing, pushing, playing on the last man, put that Watford defence under pressure. And that's what if we played with that intensity, never mind quality, tactics, the rest of it, if we just played with that intensity all season, we'd be in the top 10. So is that on the manager or is that on the players? For me, it's probably a bit of both, because I think you can see there was definitely been an instruction at times to not press high and to sit in and be compact. And there's a time for that. But ultimately, this team and Cardiff as a team look better when we press, we're energetic and we're aggressive, and we move the ball quickly. We were much more direct against Watford, and we tried to play our football and our passing in the final third. And I think that's the way to go. Interested in what you guys think. In terms of my prediction for the game, I'm going to be positive. I'm going to say we're going to build on that victory, home game, and I'm going to go with a 3-1 victory to Cardiff City. Although I did guess right the other day when I said 2-1. No, we'll go 3-1 Cardiff, and I think we'll get a bit of momentum now. I want to see the same attitude and application from the players. That's the bare minimum, is being professional and doing your job individually and collectively. And I thought, you have to give them credit. If you're going to be critical of them when they don't, or you're going to be critical of the manager because of this, that, and the other, you've got to give them credit where it's due. He got the big calls right against Watford. The players stepped up in turn, had the right attitude. So, let's do that again against Coventry. It's a very winnable game if we do that. If we play like we did yesterday against Watford, then we've got a very, very good chance of beating Coventry. But don't sleep on Coventry either. They got a couple of real nice players. And if your attitude and application of the players is not right, they are more than capable of beating us. So we have to have the right attitude, application, all that good stuff. Guys, as always, it's been a pleasure. I want to take a minute to thank you all for the support, watching the channel and everything in our first 10 or 11 months, I think it's been going. Really appreciate it. Massive shout out to all the members who've joined in the last couple of weeks. The members is what literally funds the channel and allows us to give you 7 days a week Cardiff City content, allows us to, last night, have multiple shows. There's going to be videos, shows every single day, always Cardiff City, and we're just fans talking Cardiff, getting your opinions. So if you are able to become a member, you get a load of different rewards and additional content. You also get early access to tickets to live events, of which there will be several this year. So yeah, lots and lots to do, lots and lots to go. Lastly, Happy New Year to you all. I will see you tomorrow. If you do see me tomorrow at the game, come say hello. I'm always happy to have a chat. And lastly, I want to say to Matt, Rob, Harry, Terry, Pan, Donna and her daughters, Jamie, and several other people who helped me out behind the scenes, Paula Bandonato, people like that who come on the channel regularly, all the guests and ex-players and stuff like that. Most of all, my wife, most of all, you guys for supporting us and helping us do it. Happy New Year. Thank you very much for the support. Let's make 2025 special on and off the pitch. Take care, my friends, and I'll see you in 2025.